Usually how this works is we see a movie, we get out, and we sit in the car and talk about it.
I did think that the plan was to pretend that we just
I can't lie.
That was the plan.
I'm not a liar.
Harley Quinn and or the Birds of Prey.
Hi, everybody.
Hello.
Hello.
Last week, we saw Birds of Prey, the fantabulous emancipation of one Harley Quinn. Formerly known as Birds of Prey, the fantabulous emancipation of one Harleen Quinzel. Currently known as Harley Quinn, Birds of Prey. They changed the fucking title of the movie since we saw it.
I'm on the fence about that. I think it's stupid, but more accurate, so I guess.
I'm Oliver the Ricketts.
I'm Jeremy Kessler.
I'm Britney Spears. I don't know why I said it like in a sing-songy way.
We saw Birds of Prey, the fantabulous emancipation of one Harley Quinn
last Thursday.
Right.
At 11 o'clock at night.
It was super late and I had work in the morning. But everybody's talking about this movie.
Are they?
Yes, not positively.
I don't know any other person that's seen it other than us.
Well, that's the problem. I found this movie to be very entertaining while I was watching it. I thought Margot Robbie was great as Harley Quinn, and I thought that they successfully dialed back on a lot of the problems with Suicide Squad. However, I don't think the movie is very memorable, and although I like a lot of pieces of the movie, like Harley Quinn, and I think that Victor Zsasz and Black Mask were both very good, something doesn't add up, and I walked out of it not totally in love with it and not able to put my finger on it. And I'm still not quite sure why that is. But it's like a solid middle of the road for me. Nothing spectacular, but a big step up for DC.
Yeah, that's kind of how I feel about it too. Very like middle of the road. I don't want to say the exact same thing that you just said, but that you've pretty much summed up how I feel. It was entertaining to an extent. I really enjoyed Margot Robbie, but that's why they gave her own movie, because she was good as Harley Quinn. The other characters, aside from Ewan McGregor, it was take it or leave it. You just didn't care. They tried to develop them in the movie, I guess to the best of their ability without being boring, but other than that, I just don't care about any of the characters. I had no investment in them whatsoever. I feel like it should have just been a Harley Quinn movie if that's what we were going to do. Instead, you tried to make it into this Avengers style team-up movie. And did people ask for that?
I mean, I'm generally going to agree. I think that it suffers from the same thing that most of the DC movies do, in that they can't handle more than one thing at a time. And this time, instead of trying to handle more than one thing at a time, they leaned in hard to one thing, which is Harley Quinn, which leaves their other thing, Birds of Prey, really underdeveloped. And you say it's a team-up movie, and we get to the part where everybody's supposed to team up, and it's contrived, and I don't really buy it, even though they have to work together, but I don't buy the bond that they're supposed to be sharing right now.
And I feel like this movie would have performed better if it was Harley Quinn versus the Joker, as opposed to Harley Quinn versus unknown villain 1. And then Ewan McGregor, who did a great job in the role, but his character is too similar to the Joker for you to not sit there and kind of be like, I think I would have liked this more if it was Harley Quinn versus the Joker, as opposed to, Harley Quinn versus this other villain that no one's heard of.
Not for nothing, I'm not a huge Black Mask fan, and I think that they, for the most part, got the spirit of the character right. They took a lot of liberties, and I think Black Mask fans are kind of going to take offense to that. It doesn't matter how you change it, he got to the core of what the character is and was still entertaining.
But you can't sit there and tell me that character didn't have characteristics or character traits of the Joker.
that was what I was going to say.
Yeah.
First of all,
I didn't mind it being Black Mask. I think I just appreciate pulling out Batman villains we haven't seen as much as the Joker.
See, I agree.
I agree. My problem is that you're pulling from the same vein.
Right.
You know what I mean?
You should have done something different.
Right. Say you pulled Penguin. Penguin is different enough from the Joker that you wouldn't then think, oh, well, he's kind of like the Joker. Why didn't they just do the Joker? Pulling Black Mask is a very similar kind of villain. Therefore, it's obvious that had they liked Jared Leto more,
Yeah.
he would have been the one in the movie.
There's the issue on its head. They don't want to move totally away from the Joker, which I agree with, because when you cut to the core of what Harley Quinn is, it's an extension of the Joker. And that's like what we've said about the Joker movie and Batman. It's like that's already a hard hurdle to get over when you take out the essential characters to the development. You didn't bother to jump the hurdle. You just kind of embraced it, and you stumbled. There's so many opportunities where they could have had, and based on formula, should have had Jared Leto cameo as the Joker, but that can't happen because he was a dick, and it didn't work out business-wise. I honestly think the right thing to do, because this movie centers so heavily on Joker breaks up with Harley, the right thing to do would have been to show us that and either recast the Joker, bite the bullet and bring Jared Leto back, or you make Joker the villain of the movie and you have a new Joker, because there's no way they're gonna do the DC universe and not have a Joker the whole time. Why didn't you just make Ewan McGregor the Joker?
That's what I'm saying.
I love Ewan McGregor.
Me too.
On another note, I also think this movie takes a weird turn because it tries to incorporate the Birds of Prey. So it's not even that they're underdeveloped, it's also that they don't belong in the story. The strong story arc here is the whole city out to get Harley Quinn. And I actually think it's a movie that you could have done just being Harley Quinn, no villain really, and just different obstacles that she has to get through.
Or different smaller villains, kind of like when you're playing a video game and you have to, go against the different levels of boss, just getting kind of through like different obstacles that she has to then, like you're saying, that she has to then face, that include smaller or less known villains, which is kind of what they tried to do in the beginning a little bit by like naming all these different people and their grievances with her. And if the movie were more of that and then the banding together of the Birds of Prey, then I would have an easier time kind of buying what they're selling. This one was just kind of like, oh, all these people are out to get Harley Quinn, but she's trying to clear her name because Black Mass is going to kill her because he doesn't like her anymore, and then all these other female characters are here, and they're eventually going to be the Birds of Prey, but not actually really in this movie.
It was strange
wonky.
They developed one movie that would have worked, and then they switched. And yeah, it's funny that you describe it as a video game, because that's the story structure of most Batman comics. Is not just one villain. There's a main thing going on, but it's really Batman trying to solve a mystery and with all these villains briefly, which is what I hope they do with the Batman movie. I think that could have worked really well for Harley Quinn. The problem here really is the Birds of Prey.
I don't know, I guess I'm thinking of more of like a structure of how they did Dark Knight Rises,
right.
And kind of like you don't know that Talia al Ghul is the villain until like the end. That layout I feel like would have worked a little bit better in the story.
And I want to touch also on what Jeremy said earlier, that when they band together, it doesn't feel like anything. And if the movie hadn't been called Birds of Prey, that actually just would have been a really fun Easter egg.
Right.
It's set up situationally. I even believe that they did that portion right, because you're not going to get an Avengers thing going with these characters that don't have a lot to do with each other. When you situationally put them in a room and say, okay, well, the only choice is to team up, that makes sense.
I buy that they worked together.
Right.
I don't buy that they're like bonded now.
Right. That doesn't make them a team. That means I had no other option. And that I almost buy into, but then don't call the movie Birds of Prey, because don't make me wait for the team up. Yeah. Make it be a cool thing that people speculate after.
It's my biggest thing. They should have just went full force and just been like, this is a Harley Quinn movie.
And then there's also that this is clearly trying very hard to be a Deadpool movie without Deadpool, and B, also be Suicide Squad at the same time, because ultimately Suicide Squad did make them a lot of money. The problem with that is that Deadpool is just more fun, and knows its audience, and when you're trying to bring Suicide Squad into that, the Suicide Squad audience is teenagers who cannot get into an R-rated movie. It's a misguided business decision more than anything else, and it's a shame, because underneath it, there is a fun movie here.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say I feel like we're ragging on it, but there is some like merit. There are things that I do really like about this movie.
And they did take the best part of Suicide Squad and
Harley.
and gave her the spotlight, which was good. However, not to just rag on it, I think they could have treated it better.
There are good things, but all the things that are not good make me feel like I'm just not going to revisit this.